So there is a family on TikTok that is getting a lot of criticism these days. And while I definitely think that there are some questions that need to be answered, I think the internet reaction to their situation is really what we need to talk about because I think that there's a whole lot of lack of self-awareness going on here. Let's get into it. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. I appreciate all of you being here, whether you've been here before or you are new to my channel. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, make sure that you are subscribed, and make sure that your notifications are turned on so that you never miss out on a conversation like the one we're about to have. So as I said, there is a family on TikTok that is going viral because of their current living situation, and a lot of people have opinions about it, as I do, but my opinions are not going to be for the reasons that you might think. But first, let's get an idea for who these people are. So this is the Jenkins family, and the parents run a TikTok account called Resilient Jenkins. They have 4 kids and 1 on the way. So that is 5 kids and 2 parents, and they live in a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. People have a lot of questions about the amount of space that they live in, the care and safety of their kids, whether they're making sound decisions for their family, whether they are selfish parents for allowing their kids to live in these particular circumstances, especially as they do seem to be getting more attention on TikTok and are likely generating income from using their family to make money on social media. And while there are a ton of videos on their TikTok account, it really only takes one to get an idea about what it is that people are so upset about. So in this particular video, you can see their apartment, you can see the sleeping arrangements, you can kind of get an idea of the family dynamics, and that really gives us all the information that we need to address the opinions and views that people are sharing based on their circumstances. So let's have a look.
It's been a wholesome night with the Resilient Jenkins. We started off with our typical nighttime routine of making sure everything gets cleaned up. Unfortunately, the belt keeps going out on our vacuum, so we just go ahead and use the hose attachment. Got the floors swept and mopped in the bed area and got the beds back down for bedtime. And I wanted to cut out some extra time to go through both of my son's toy boxes and get rid of some stuff that they've already outgrown. Now, have you know, my son asked me if he could take over vacuuming. He said he really wanted to give it a try. While going through the toy bins, I noticed there was a bunch of newborn toys that my son had barely ever had interest in, so they were barely used. Maybe my daughter might have some interest, so we'll go ahead and put them aside for her. Vacuum the area back up and go ahead and put the rug back down. After I was finished resetting the kids area with them, I went back into mine and my husband's room. I set drawer of newborn toys for my daughter. And then me and the kids worked on writing down our manifestations. Little intervention to get the toddler back his mattress so he can jump on it. I wanted to give my kids a little razzle-dazzle magic feel. So I brought out my sage and let the kids both have a chance to hold it. See y'all in the next video.
And yes, just to answer the question, the father is in the picture, he's there, and he is active in their lives, and he looks like he has a lot of fun with them. But overall, what people are upset about, they're upset that this family lives in such a tiny space. They already have 4 kids, and now they're planning on having another one. They're upset because they're worried about the effect on these kids, on their mental health, for not having privacy growing up, for not having an area to decompress or to separate themselves from the environment and just take a breather. They're worried about these kids and their safety because they are sleeping next to a door that leads to the outdoors, and they are also sleeping next to the kitchen, which means there are things that they can get into, especially if the kids are waking up in the middle of the night. So there are a lot of concerns. But just to get into it, let's look at a few of the opinions that have been shared. So this first girl is really concerned about the mental health aspect of it and also the implications of growing up in poverty.
That lady that has the 6 going on 7 children in a 1-bedroom apartment, she's getting a lot of hate. And I personally think that hate is totally justified. Some creators on here, they're just like, oh, well, you hate poor people. You don't want poor people to exist. No, the problem is not that we hate poor people. Poor people have every right to live and exist. It's the fact that this lady, this couple, are subjecting their kids to live in poverty their entire lives. They can't afford 2 children, let alone 7. It is not fair to the children that have to grow up like that. Look at the mental health statistics of children that grow up in large families and in poverty. It's not good and it's not fair. And it's also wild that these kids are living in the living room and kitchen while the parents get the bedroom. That tells me that not only do these parents not give a damn about the kids' mental health, they don't care about their safety either. If there's an intruder or a break-in, those kids are first in line. They don't have any space. They don't have any privacy. Their living situation is unfair to those kids. And I think somebody said the father has a PS5. That should be going towards rent somewhere else. And it's not that poor people can't enjoy things, but as a parent, you have the obligation of giving your kids the best quality of life that you can. And 9 of you in a 1-bedroom apartment is not it. Also, last question, how do the parents have time to, the birds and the bees? They don't have any privacy. Do the kids have to listen to that?
This next lady is not really concerned about whether or not they're living in poverty, but how they are using the resources that they have available to them.
As somebody who has seen like rural families in like literal huts, I think that what creates happiness in your child is the way that you distribute resources in the household, not necessarily the resources you have. So when you have a big family, like in a hut style rural living, everyone enjoys equal resources. But when you have a one-bedroom apartment that's cluttered and only the parents are in the bedroom and the children essentially all supervise themselves in the living room, exposed to the kitchen area, that is a level of cruelty that everyone is going to feel and experience.
Please stop showing sympathy for bull crap. There is no way that I could go to sleep at night knowing I got 6 of my kids living in my kitchen on the daggone floor like they cluttered in a can of sardines. I'm sick of it. You had year after year, and you're pregnant again. You're pregnant again. Yeah, this lifestyle is hard. Then don't make another one. Keep your legs closed. Get off TikTok and ask somebody to help you. I call CPS on myself. Ask somebody to help you. It's okay to not be okay and not be stable. But don't be having your kids walking around in a dadgum circle in a little small space and then got the nerve to go make another one. And but you're sitting on TikTok when you could have been applying for places and getting on the waiting list for single housing. They got housing for mothers. They take care of mothers more than they take care of a person just single working by themselves. There's no excuse for what you're doing. You put yourself in that situation. I don't show sympathy for bull crap and lazy mothers that don't got time to do nothing but care about themselves. You're selfish, and that's how I feel about it. And I ain't changing my opinion on nobody, and I don't care what nobody say. Get your butt up and go do something and tell your man to go work and get a job.
Now, I don't remember this family ever complaining or asking people to feel sorry for them, but maybe that's just me. This last gal is going to jump in with actually some solutions and suggestions for this family. So let's have a listen.
Family of 6, soon to be 7, living in a 1-bedroom apartment. I'm going to talk about this. The problem is not your circumstances. The problem is not that you are forced to live in a 1-bedroom apartment because of the economy. The problem is that your 4, soon to be 5 children are laying on foam pads on the kitchen and living room floors to sleep at night. You are extremely cluttered with stuff everywhere. Lots of stuff that is dangerous for your small children to be around unattended, while you and your husband are sleeping on a king size bed with a PS5 and the LED lights in your room, but then your children are sleeping again on foam pads on the kitchen and living room floors. This isn't about shaming rather than advocating for those kids. Personally, I think that the parents should move out of that bedroom. I think that they should get a couch that pulls out into a bed, and they need to sleep in the living room. I think they need to then get 2 sets of bunk beds and then a crib and move their babies into that bedroom. Baby-proof the room so that while they're still sleeping and their children wake up, they're not going to get injured or hurt themselves on anything in the home. And before people say, well, where are they going to get the money to get all that stuff? Sell your PS5, sell your TV, sell half of the shit in your house, because your children are more important. Your children come before material things. Also, she has over 20,000 followers. I'm betting she's in the creator rewards program, and that video she made got millions of views. And I know how much money people can make off millions of views on here, even at a minimum. I guarantee you she made enough money to at least buy 1 bunk bed.
So you get the idea. There are countless people sharing their opinions and their views on this situation. It is absolutely crazy to me, which I think is why so many of us would never share our lives online. But first, I do want to address some of the things that were said in these particular response videos. First, I don't agree that people that grow up in larger families are unhappier. I myself have 2 siblings, so that it's a smaller family, but my extended family is absolutely massive because I have aunts and uncles that have bigger families and their kids have big families. I'm also a conservative Christian, so I knew a lot of people growing up that came from families of like 6 or 7 kids. I had a roommate when I was 19 and she was the oldest of 12 kids. So of course, there are going to be challenges in both kinds of situations. And I think overall, what truly matters is dynamic in the home, the relationship between the parents, and how much time you actually spend with your kids and how much time they actually spend out of the home being raised by someone who is not their parent, which is a whole other conversation. I've just seen a lot of both sides of it. I've seen joy in all kinds of households. So I think that there are a lot of other factors that need to be considered before making kind of more of that blanket statement. As far as the resources in the household, I do agree with that particular take on it. It's not so much about the overall conditions. It's not about the size of the apartment. It's about how the resources that you do have available are being distributed in the household and how they're being used. And it's about the fact that there are safer, healthier ways to manage any kind of situation. And I do think that this particular situation probably has some room for improvement. As for the gal that just seems to think they're intentionally not getting help, I didn't really see anything in any of their videos that suggested that the kids are going without. They're clothed, they're fed, They spend time together as a family. I saw several videos where the dad was having a lot of fun with them. They all pitch in with the chores. They all pitch in to keep the area clean and safe and decluttering and getting rid of things that they don't need. Maybe they could use help getting a bigger apartment, but of course that is also dependent on a lot of factors, and maybe they just haven't been able to have that happen yet. And lastly, I did truly appreciate the last girl that offered a lot of suggestions and solutions about letting the kids have the bedroom, which is something that I agree with, and how to set it up in a way where they could all fit in there comfortably and have their own little space. And I saw a lot of videos like that, people offering suggestions about how to move things around, how to declutter, how to more effectively use your storage space and things like that. So I love some of the responses. I agree with some, not all, but overall, this has just kind of been the vibe towards this family. But this is where the whole situation had me scratching my head a little bit, and where my thoughts on this situation will probably turn in a direction that you are not expecting. When I was watching this, I couldn't help but think of the overall sentiment with so many people in society today when it comes to victimhood, when it comes to how we raise children, when it comes to morality, when it comes to solving problems, because all of this ties into how people are responding to this family. And I think it really exposes what our values truly are, no matter how many different ways that so much of these new ideas try to twist them. First, I mean, we constantly hear from people who feel like they're a victim and who say that they are being held back from living their best life because of their skin color, because of their gender, because of their sexuality, whether it be because they think that their job isn't paying them enough to be able to afford their living expenses. Whatever it is, there are so many people that just think that they are truly a victim these days. People want to blame everybody else for their problems, and they want somebody else to step in and fix it. Yet, when it comes to this family, people have been able to come up with all kinds of solutions. They don't see a woman who is being held back by a man or who can't think for herself because she is tied to a family. They don't see a black man who can't overcome his circumstances because he is black. And they don't see a family who can't make their situation better just because they only have a certain amount of income coming in. Everyone sees this family. Everybody is united on seeing this family as people who are fully capable of making the best of their circumstances, even if their circumstances aren't the best. They see them as people who do not need a six-figure income job to improve their quality of life, but they could improve their quality of life by making changes with the things that they do have to work with. And everyone has a million solutions for this particular family, and nobody is making any suggestions that go beyond what they are capable of doing. And I would have to ask, doesn't that apply to all of us? I mean, we all have challenges. We all have things in our life that we wish were easier. Yet the massive viral response to this particular family shows that most people are aware that they have the ability and their own power to solve their own problems, that you don't need to have everything at your fingertips in order to have everything you need. And it's absolutely wild to me because so many people seem to want to be victims and blame everybody else for what's going wrong in their life. And they would prefer to blame everyone else for why things are challenging for them. And if someone even tries to tell them that they have the power and ability as an individual to fix their circumstances, they're often called hateful and bigoted. Yet clearly, when situations like this come up, people demonstrate that in general, they don't actually believe those things. Secondly, when it comes to children, if they can't be around a kitchen or unsupervised around a door that leads to the outside, why on earth would we let them do crazy things like take puberty blockers or hormones or get permanent surgery to alter their bodies? Why would we let them make life-altering decisions when they can't even handle being next to a drawer that might have forks and knives in it? Why would we let them have access to adult material or let them be exposed to adult men in drag while they're shaking their butts and their prosthetic genitalia in front of children? The one girl was worried about these kids even hearing inappropriate noises from their parents, yet so many people seem to think that it's okay to put R-rated and X-rated material in their schools for them to read over and view. And so many people seem to be of the opinion that it's the parents' choice to make, yet so many people, when it comes to this family, want to step in and stop them from even hearing something that they may not be old enough to understand. When it comes right down to it, clearly, as a society, we believe that children should not be sexualized and they should not be exposed to things that are not appropriate for them. So why on earth have we decided to stop protecting them from it? Also, there are people that are trying to push the idea that children should be raised by the community, that they belong to the community, and that it's the community's responsibility to make sure that kids are taken care of. Yet every single person responding to this family, to these videos, believe that the parents are the ones that are responsible to them. Not one person suggested bringing these kids out into the courtyard in the middle of the apartment complex and asking everybody else what their thoughts were. And not only that, people seem to truly value the type of environment that kids grow up in, that we should be giving them the best, and that people do want to be able to weigh in and share their opinions if they think that that environment is not the best for them. And what does that environment look like? Maybe a two-parent home where their mom and dad spend time with them and put their needs above their own? And when it comes to this woman having a baby that most people seem to think she should not be having, the solution that people have offered is don't engage in activities that might put you in this position. To have a kid that you're not prepared for, maybe close your legs and be responsible with your body. Make decisions based on the consequences that you are actually prepared to handle in a responsible way. If you're not in a place to handle the potential consequences of certain actions, then you have the ability to do everything you can, your personal responsibility, to stop those things or to not engage in them. And if it does happen, then clearly a lot of people believe that you are capable of handling it. If the Jenkins family can, so can you. Lastly, there has been a massive dispute over the last few years about what is right and wrong and who gets to decide. In one of my last videos, it was in response to Ben Shapiro debating a young lady about abortion, and she was arguing with him about who gets to decide if a life has value. They were talking about everything from unborn babies to people that are in a coma and all kinds of different circumstances. But her question is, why does life have value and who gets to determine if that life has value? And just because one person believes a life has value, why does another person get to dispute that? And we see this in so many other issues surrounding things that people have tried to normalize, like sexualizing kids, like wearing almost nothing in public, like legalizing drugs. These upcoming generations are truly facing an existential crisis when it comes to morality, where they now think that what is right and wrong is entirely subjective, that if I think something is right, that's all that matters. And just because you think something is wrong doesn't mean that I have to live by your standards. You just have to accept whatever it is that I want to do. Yet there are so many people looking at this family and saying, that's wrong, that's not okay. So much so to the point where they want to get CPS involved because they truly think that these kids are in danger, which is wild considering what so many people are trying to normalize for kids these days. The question is, why is it not okay? Why is this situation wrong? Because if it's fine for them, why is it any of our business? Maybe a fundamental understanding of what is right and wrong is actually necessary, and just being able to say that something is wrong is necessary, and it is fine, and it is not oppressive. And a moral foundation that we all live by has actually kept society in line for a really long time and kept us from going on the downward spiral that we are actually on right now. Just a thought. I'm sure a lot of you guys are rolling your eyes at where I took this conversation, but I honestly think it all ties in perfectly, because these are the things that I was thinking as I was watching this all play out, because so many people spout these progressive ideas about kids and family, about race and gender, about all of these things, but in the real world, when faced with these actual circumstances that we respond to, we always revert back to what we really think and what we really believe, which is that we are responsible for our own choices, that there are always solutions that we have the power to participate in, that we have the power to implement in our own lives, that it's no one else's job to make our situation better, and that kids are not little adults. They are not fully developed. They do not understand long-term consequences. And a lot of times they don't understand risks and danger. It is our job to protect them from those things and create the best environment that we possibly can so that they get to a point where they have a healthy developmental understanding of those things as an adult. Ultimately, as far as this family goes, I do hope that they do take some of the advice that has been given to them. I hope they put their kids in the bedroom, that they get bunk beds, and that they move into a bigger place, hopefully sometime soon. But overall, it's astonishing to me that there are so many people who have grabbed onto a belief system that they don't actually seem to think think works for the benefit of society and who try to normalize things for kids that they know are inappropriate for their age and that not even their own parents should be exposing them to. Bottom line, we know that our choices matter, that we can make our own circumstances better, that kids are their parents to raise, and that they deserve the best, most wholesome environment that we can give to them, and that their innocence should be protected. But I would love to hear all of your thoughts on this in the comments below. Please be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. Keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one.